With survival being a main objective for victims in horror movies, which movies leave no survivors?
Your lemon squares taste like ass.
Welcome to my channel, my name is Em, aka Horror, and in today's video, I will be discussing 10 horror movies which leave no surviving main characters. The Cabin in the Woods, 2011. The Cabin in the Woods centres on 5 friends who go on a trip to a secluded cabin. Whilst their trip starts off as a normal getaway, it soon becomes terrifying when they are attacked by zombie-like creatures who begin killing them one by one. If this weren't horrific enough, it turns out that this is all being constructed by scientists who are in complete control of the creatures and are manipulating the events taking place. Upon discovering the lab where the creatures are being kept, the final 2 victims, Marty and Dana, uncover the truth as to why this is happening to them. They are the subjects of an annual ritual of sacrifice to the Ancient Ones. It's revealed that Dana, who they have classed as the Virgin, needs to either be the lone survivor or die last for the ritual to work. Failing this, the human race will be at risk. The movie ends with Marty and Dana sharing a joint and accepting their fate, deciding that the kind of world they are living in may not be worth saving after all. Final Destination 5, 2011. In good old Final Destination fashion, the movie revolves around a group who have cheated death. We follow Sam, who is on a bus with his fellow colleagues. Sam has a premonition that when they are crossing the North Bay Bridge, it will collapse and kill everyone in the process. He persuades others to leave the bus and bridge with him, saving them from the disaster. However, death soon starts to catch up on the survivors, and one by one they suffer horrific deaths. After a number of the survivors have met their bloody ends, Sam boards a plane to Paris with his love interest Molly. He sees 2 teenagers fighting and being escorted off the plane with one of their teachers and a couple of other students following. The flight they have boarded is the flight that started it all, Flight 180. They take their seats and set off on the tragic journey. The last we see is the landing gear of the plane crashing through a roof and killing the last survivor. Night of the Living Dead, 1968. Set in Pennsylvania, siblings Barbara and Johnny are visiting their father's grave when they are both attacked by a pale-looking man who kills Johnny. Barbara flees to a nearby farmhouse, finding the owners dead, and is soon surrounded by deadly-looking individuals who are trying to get into the property. A stranger arrives to help Barbara and boards up the house. The 2 then find others have taken shelter in the home's basement, with one of the couple's daughters, Karen, being bitten by one of the ghoulish-looking beings. It is broadcasted on the radio that these attacks are taking place and that armed men are taking down the living dead. The nightmare soon meets those inside the house, with a few accidents taking place and Karen's bite proving fatal and turning her into one of the living dead. The last scene we see is the lone survivor, Ben, emerging from the property the following morning, only to be shot dead by the armed men who have mistaken him as being one of the ghouls. House of a Thousand Corpses, 2003. Set in 1977, House of a Thousand Corpses follows 2 teenage couples whose car breaks down, leaving them stranded. They soon become the victims of a deranged family who kidnap them and subject them to horrendous physical and mental torture, starting off their sickening killings of the group. When the teenagers don't arrive home, one of their fathers contacts the police and joins in on their investigation, as he used to work as a policeman. Whilst investigating, they come across the family's home and begin to question them before they all get brutally murdered by the family members. Later that evening, the 3 remaining teens are humiliated and tormented by the family, and one by one their horrific ends begin. When the last surviving teen, Denise, escapes the family, she's picked up by Captain Spaulding, the owner of a gas station and horror museum, who she'd met the day before. Just as she's feeling safe, one of the family members appears from behind holding a knife. The movie closes with Denise waking up on an operating table with members of the family surrounding her as she screams. Downrange, 2017. When the tyre of their car blows out, a group of 6 friends become stranded in the middle of nowhere. Whilst trying to fix the issue, shots are heard and one of the friends, Jeff, is killed, starting the gruesome killing spree. An unknown sniper is hiding and shooting at the friends, firing shots until his targets are hit. Using their phones, the group try to get help and also try to view where the sniper is through their camera. However, their actions are not successful and only result in more blood loss. After regrouping, the remaining 3 of the group see another vehicle coming towards them and try to flag it down. The sniper takes shots, killing those in the approaching vehicle as well as another member of the group, but not before a call is made to the police. Eventually, the sheriff, deputy and 2 marksmen appear. However, it's not long before the sniper takes out all but one of the victims, leaving the lone survivor Jodie on her own. She hunts down the sniper, killing him, and accidentally shoots herself in the throat, meeting her demise. Quarantine, 2008. As with most found footage movies, Quarantine does not leave any survivors. When a call is made to the LA Fire Department, 2 firefighters, Jake and George, head to an apartment building where police officers Danny and James join them. Upon entering the building, James and George are attacked by one of the elderly residents who bites them. After Danny shoots her down, they find another resident who is in a similar state to that of the elderly lady. As a result of their bites, James and George become ill. This causes the building to be quarantined by the CDQ, who are not allowing anyone to leave, suspecting the possibility of rabies in the building. It's not only the humans in the building who are affected by this, as one of the residents' dogs is also showing signs and symptoms and ends up killing another resident. George and James take a turn for the worse and end up attacking those who surround them. Soon realising this is far more serious than they could have expected, those who have not been bitten flee to a room upstairs and lock themselves away, only to find not all of them are clear. The remaining 3 find their way down to the basement, with one of them soon meeting their grisly end. The final 2 survivors, Scott and Angela, find lab equipment which belonged to a former resident of the building who stole a virus which mutated from rabies into an even more lethal virus. In the final scenes, we see Scott being eaten by one of the infected and Angela being dragged away from her camera screaming. Cabin Fever, 2002. When a group of college students take a trip to a cabin during their October break, what was supposed to be a relaxing getaway turns into something more sinister. When one of the guys in the group, Bert, goes hunting for squirrels, he shoots a man who earlier on in the film we see found his dog dead and has been infected by a blood disease which his dog was carrying. Not knowing what to do, Bert leaves the man and does not tell anyone about the incident. Whilst enjoying an evening around the campfire later on that day, the group are joined by a drifter and his dog, when the man who Bert had accidentally shot earlier appears asking for help. The group refuse to help him and he tries to steal their car whilst vomiting blood. Paul, another group member, then accidentally sets him on fire and kills him. The next day they contact the police, who promise to send help. One of the females, Karen, is extremely upset about the events which took place before, and Paul notices that she has an infected wound on her thigh, which leaves the group to isolate her in a shed. Bert ends up noticing that he has been infected as he coughs up blood, but chooses to keep this from the others. However, his secret is soon revealed and he flees the scene. Soon enough, everything turns to carnage when each member slowly starts to realise that they have been infected, and one by one are killed by the hands of others, apart from Jeff, who survived the ordeal by hiding in the woods. However, it is not over for him, as the following morning he's shot down by the police, who have been ordered to kill the infected. In the final scene of the movie, we see Paul in the lake, which is now contaminated. The lake water is then used by a girl and boy to make and sell lemonade, which is sold to the police officers, indicating the nightmare is only just beginning. Dead Silence, 2007. After being wrongly accused of his wife's murder, Jamie returns to his hometown of Ravensfair to try and solve the death of his wife. He is led back here after receiving a mysterious gift of a ventriloquist doll on the morning before his wife died, and has found a clue leading to a woman named Mary Shaw. He soon uncovers the history of Mary, a ventriloquist, and how she was accused of a boy's murder and killed by the boy's family. With the help from a local mortician, Jamie uncovers the boy that Mary did in fact murder was his great-uncle. Mary murdered him because he humiliated her by saying he could see her mouth move during one of her performances. Mary's last wish was for her body to be turned into a doll so she could be buried with her collection of dolls. Her spirit has been killing any potential newborn of Jamie's family's bloodline ever since to get revenge on what they did to her. However, she will only kill those who scream when they see her true form. After Mary's ghost explains this to Jamie, he learns that his father is in fact dead and is a doll which was converted from his corpse. When his father's wife becomes possessed by Mary, Jamie screams, resulting in his death. The film concludes with Jamie now being a puppet and Mary looking through a photo album of the bloodline she has destroyed. The Borderlands, 2013. Also known as Final Prayer, The Borderlands focuses on three men, Deacon, Gray and Father Mark Amadon, who are sent by the Vatican to investigate a recently reopened 13th century church in Devon. While Gray sets up the recording equipment, local priest Father Krellick informs the trio that a miracle has occurred on their first visit to the church. He then shows them footage of items on the altar moving on their own. The following day, Father Mark finds the church's hidden side panel, but before he can go inside, he is startled by an invisible force. His ear starts to bleed, but he shrugs this off as being an eardrum rupture brought on by the flight he took to the location. Strange things soon start to happen and the local priest dies by jumping to his own death. The trio soon become untrusted by the locals and end up investigating the church, which they find is built on top of a pagan temple where human sacrifices used to take place. When their colleague Father Calvino shows up to exorcise the site, Father Mark is apparently killed and him and Father Calvino disappear. However, Gray and Deacon hear their cries from a distance and decide to follow them, discovering evidence that the site had been converted to a pagan worship. The two remaining men are then killed by chemicals seeping from the walls, with Deacon's last words being the Lord's Prayer. Open Water, 2003. Based on a true story, Open Water sees a couple, Daniel and Susan, who are on vacation, where they go on a group scuba dive. The duo separate themselves from the group and upon their return to where their boat was, they realise they have been left behind. Despite their optimism that their boat will return to get them, this does not happen due to an incorrect head count. Experiencing mental and physical exhaustion, the two begin to bicker and realise that they are in the middle of nowhere far from safety, which proves to be correct as sharks have been circling them. One of the sharks bites Susan's leg, causing a fish to start feeding on her. Daniel is then bitten by a shark and begins to bleed heavily, eventually leading to his death when the sharks return. A search for the couple begins when a crew member finds their bags left on board the boat. However, not knowing this, Susan makes the decision to take off her scuba equipment after seeing sharks circling her and sinks below the surface to her death. So as always, what do you guys think? Do you know of any other horror movies where the main characters don't survive? Let me know down in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe as I will be uploading more content like this. You can check out my other content here. With that being said, I will see you in the next video.